DNA tests before I love you, protecting your legacy and redefining relationships. Welcome to the Black CEO Podcast. I'm your host, and today we're embarking on a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about love, family, and the future of our communities. We're diving deep into a conversation that might make you uncomfortable, but I promise it's one that has the power to transform lives and reshape generations. Today's insights come from a truly remarkable individual, Shoni Penn. Shoni is more than just a visionary thinker. She's a force for change, a beacon of hope for those seeking to break cycles of poverty and build lasting legacies. Her ideas are reshaping how we approach some of the most fundamental aspects of our lives. And I'm excited to share what I've learned from our conversation with you. Imagine this. You've just had an intimate encounter with someone. The passion is still palpable, the connection electric. But instead of whispering sweet nothings, you look into their eyes and say, let's get a DNA test. Sounds cold, doesn't it? Maybe even a bit absurd. Well, buckle up, because by the end of this talk, you might find yourself not only agreeing with this idea, but championing it as a crucial step towards a better future for all of us. Today, we're going to explore a counterintuitive, provocative, and absolutely essential idea: requesting DNA paternity testing at the I missed my cycle stage of a relationship isn't just acceptable, it's imperative. And here's the kicker: this practice isn't about mistrust or a lack of romance. It's about protecting generational wealth, ensuring clarity in relationships, and building a foundation for stronger, more resilient communities. Now, I can almost hear the collective gasp. DNA testing, that's not very romantic. And you're right, it's not. But let's take a step back and question why we're so attached to our notions of romance, especially when they might be holding us back from making smart, future focused decisions. In our society, we've been conditioned to believe that love conquers all, that trust is paramount, and that questioning paternity is a sign of mistrust or even betrayal. But what if I told you that this mindset, while well intentioned, might be one of the biggest obstacles to building and preserving generational wealth in our communities? Let's break this down. When we talk about generational wealth, we're not just talking about a fat bank account. We're talking about property, businesses, intellectual assets, and yes, financial resources that can be passed down from one generation to the next. It's the kind of wealth that can lift entire families out of poverty, provide educational opportunities, and create a legacy that lasts for generations. But here's the harsh reality. In many communities, especially communities of color, generational wealth is often disrupted or diluted due to unclear paternity, unplanned pregnancies, and the financial strain of supporting children who may not be biologically related to the presumed father. Now, I can almost hear the objections. But what about love? What about trust? What about the sanctity of relationships? These are valid concerns, and they're deeply ingrained in our cultural psyche. But I'm challenging you today to think differently, to question these assumptions, and to consider a new paradigm that could change the trajectory of entire communities. What if, instead of viewing DNA testing as a sign of mistrust, we saw it as an act of love and responsibility? What if we reframed it as a way of saying, I care about you, I care about our potential future children, and I want to ensure that we're both fully informed and prepared for the responsibility we're about to undertake? This shift in perspective doesn't diminish the importance of love or trust. Instead, it elevates them by adding a layer of pragmatism and foresight. It's about loving not just in the moment, but with an eye to the future, your potential child's future, and the future of your community. Let me share a story with you that illustrates the power of this approach. Meet Marcus and Tiana, a young couple deeply in love. They had been dating for 6 months when Tiana discovered she was pregnant. Overwhelmed with a mix of excitement and fear, they decided to embrace parenthood, driven by their love for each other and societal expectations. Fast forward 5 years, Marcus and Tiana are struggling. The financial strain of raising a child has put their dreams on hold. Marcus had to drop out of college to work full time, while Tiana's plans of starting her own business were indefinitely postponed. Their relationship is strained, resentment building as they grapple with the challenges of unexpected parenthood. But here's where the story takes a turn. Marcus, plagued by doubts, finally decided to get a paternity test. The results? He wasn't the biological father. The revelation shattered their world. Years of financial struggle, delayed dreams, and a relationship built on a misconception all could have been avoided with a simple test at the beginning. Now, let's rewind and reimagine this scenario with our new perspective. Marcus and Tiana, upon discovering the potential pregnancy, decide to have a frank and open conversation about DNA testing. They approach it not as an accusation, but as a responsible step in family planning. They get the test done early, and the results show that Marcus is not the biological father. Yes, it's a difficult moment, but it's a moment of truth that comes before years of misplaced investment, both financial and emotional. Tiana can now make informed decisions about her pregnancy. Marcus, while supportive, isn't burdened with financial responsibilities that aren't his. Both can move forward with clarity, whether together or apart. This approach might seem clinical, even cold. But let's be honest, is it any colder than the alternative? Is it any colder than the reality faced by countless children growing up in poverty because their parents weren't prepared for the financial responsibilities of parenthood? Is it any colder than the resentment and conflict that can arise when paternity is questioned years down the line? The truth is, by normalizing early DNA testing, we're not just protecting individuals, we're protecting entire communities. We're creating a culture of responsibility, foresight, and financial literacy that can help break cycles of poverty and build lasting wealth. But let's be clear, this isn't just about money. It's about empowerment. It's about giving people the tools and information they need to make informed decisions about their lives and their futures. It's about creating a society where parenthood is a conscious choice, not an accident or an obligation. Now, I can already hear the critics. But what about the sanctity of relationships? What about trust? These are valid concerns, but I'd argue that true trust isn't blind, it's informed. Real trust can withstand scrutiny. If anything, being open to DNA testing shows a level of maturity and commitment to honesty that strengthens rather than weakens a relationship. Moreover, this approach doesn't diminish the value of non biological parenthood. If anything, it elevates it. When someone chooses to be a parent, fully aware that they may not be biologically related to the child, that's a powerful and beautiful thing. It's a choice made with full awareness and commitment rather than based on assumption or obligation. Let's also consider the impact on children. Growing up with clarity about one's biological origins can be incredibly empowering. It can provide a sense of identity, a connection to one's heritage, and importantly, a clear understanding of one's medical history. These are gifts that every child deserves. Now, I know this idea might seem radical. It might even seem a bit scary. But remember, every social change seems radical at first. There was a time when the idea of women working outside the home seemed revolutionary. There was a time when interracial marriages were considered taboo. Society evolves, and it evolves because brave individuals are willing to challenge the status quo and propose new ways of thinking. So, what would a world look like where early DNA testing was the norm? Imagine a society where unplanned pregnancies didn't automatically lead to rushed marriages or reluctant parenthood. Imagine a world where every child was wanted, where every parent was fully committed, and where the distribution of resources and responsibilities was based on facts rather than assumptions. In this world, we might see a dramatic reduction in poverty rates. We might see more young people completing their education before starting families. We might see a surge in entrepreneurship as people feel more secure in their personal lives and more confident in their ability to build wealth for the future. But perhaps most importantly, we might see a shift in how we view relationships and family. Instead of clinging to romantic notions that often lead to disappointment and conflict, we might embrace a more pragmatic yet ultimately more loving approach to building families and communities. This isn't about replacing love with science. It's about enhancing love with knowledge. It's about creating a foundation of truth and clarity upon which strong, lasting relationships can be built. Let me share another story that illustrates the power of this approach. Meet Jamal and Keisha. They were high school sweethearts who found themselves expecting a child at the age of 19. Unlike Marcus and Tiana, they decided to take the path of early DNA testing. The results confirmed Jamal as the father. But instead of this being a moment of relief or accusation, it became a catalyst for honest conversation and planning. They discussed their dreams, their fears, and their readiness for parenthood. They talked about finances, education, and the kind of future they wanted for themselves and their child. Ultimately, they decided to co-parent without rushing into marriage. Jamal continued his education while working part-time, and Keisha pursued her dream of becoming a nurse. Their families, initially skeptical of their decision, came to support their mature approach. Today, 10 years later, Jamal and Keisha have successful careers. They've built a stable co-parenting relationship, and their child is thriving. They've even started teaching financial literacy and family planning in their community, sharing their story as an example of how clarity and honesty from the beginning can lead to better outcomes for everyone involved. This story shows us that DNA testing isn't about mistrust or accusation. It's about creating a foundation of truth from which strong families and communities can grow. Now, I'm not suggesting this change will be easy. It will require a massive shift in our cultural mindset. It will require uncomfortable conversations. It will require us to challenge deeply held beliefs about love, trust, and family. But isn't that what progress is all about? Isn't that how we grow and evolve as a society? By questioning our assumptions, by challenging the status quo, by being willing to have difficult conversations in service of a better future. So I leave you with this challenge. The next time you hear about someone requesting a DNA test early in a pregnancy, resist the urge to judge. Instead, consider the courage it takes to prioritize truth and long-term well-being over short-term comfort. Consider the potential impact on future generations if this practice became the norm. And if you find yourself in a situation where this conversation becomes relevant, have the courage to bring it up. Approach it not as an accusation, but as an act of love. Love for yourself, love for your potential child, and love for your community. Remember, protecting generational wealth begins with knowing what and who is rightfully yours. It begins with making informed, responsible decisions. It begins with valuing truth over comfort and long-term well-being over short-term peace of mind. The path to a better future isn't always comfortable, isn't always romantic, but it is always worth it. So let's be brave. Let's be honest. Let's be willing to challenge our assumptions and change our practices, because in doing so, we're not just changing our own lives, we're changing the future for generations to come. I want you to leave here today with a new perspective, a new tool in your arsenal for building a better future. I want you to consider how early DNA testing could reshape not just individual lives, but entire communities. I want you to imagine a world where every child is born into clarity, where every parent is fully committed, and where the cycles of poverty and missed opportunities are broken. This isn't just about DNA. It's about dignity. It's about destiny. It's about taking control of our narratives and our futures. So I challenge you, have those difficult conversations. Question the status quo. Be brave enough to prioritize truth over comfort, because when we do, we're not just protecting our own legacies, we're building a foundation for generations to come. The future is in our hands. Let's have the courage to shape it with honesty, foresight, and love. Let's redefine what it means to trust, what it means to love, and what it means to build a family and a community. The world is waiting for us to lead the way. Are you ready to take that first brave step? Are you ready to champion a new way of thinking that could transform lives and communities? The choice is yours. The future is waiting. Thank you.